Continuing. The Citizens' Assembly on Drug Use has heard it's widespread in Ireland. The Assembly, which was formally established in March, is holding its second meeting at Dublin Castle this weekend. Members also heard about the experiences of families and frontline workers, about how drug use has impacted their lives, their work and their communities. Fionn Connolly-Sexton says he started using drugs to deal with the traumas of the past.
I developed a few anxiety disorders, ADHD, which basically made my life hell. As I got into my early 20s, the world just felt wrong to me all the time. And I saw my friends using, cocaine and ecstasy. Now, for myself, I couldn't, because I'm such an anxious person. It'd kill me the first try. My heart rate is already at a resting 99.
The staffing shortage at the Competition and Consumer Protection Commission is harming Irish consumers. There are more than 20 vacancies for some of the most senior positions at the consumer watchdog. Without filling the roles, the Commission is unable to investigate issues such as price gouging. Sinn Féin TD and party spokesperson on Enterprise, Louise O'Reilly, says the government is failing the public.
If the government were serious about tackling the issue of the spiralling cost of inflation and actually intervening on behalf of consumers, the first thing they should do is ensure that the CCPC, whose primary function is to protect the interests of consumers, adequately resourced and properly staffed. The CCPC won't be able to carry out their function if they are not properly resourced.
And a small planet discovered by NASA may have once been a water world. Recent reports show the mini Neptune is blanketed in a steam-like haze. Researchers say the planet, discovered by a specialised NASA telescope, is unlike anything in our solar system. And that's your news for now.
News Talk weather.
Thanks to Ryanair. Release your dad bod this summer with low-fare flights to Ibiza, Malaga or Zadar.
Dry and becoming mostly sunny today, and a light easterly breeze. Low cloud and fog will linger near coasts today. Highest temperatures 16 to 18 degrees. And now you're up to date on News Talk.
Football on Off the Ball.
With Sky. Don't miss Leicester versus Liverpool on Monday Night Football. Live only on Sky Sports.
This is News Talk.
And welcome back to Off the Ball Saturday here on News Talk. John Duggan with you 3 to 5. Want to say before we get into the football, Gaelic football wise, congratulations to Kildare. 117 to Sligo's 12 points there. The Air Grid Under 20 All-Ireland football champions. Well done to the Lily Whites, and a great evening in store for them, and commiserations to Sligo. Remember, football, the association football that is, on Off the Ball, brought to you by Sky, proud partner and supporter of the Republic of Ireland women's national team. We're here until 5 with Mark Lawrenson on the line, the former Republic of Ireland defender and Liverpool legend, and in studio, Dan McDonnell of the Irish Independent and the broadcaster and journalist Johnny Ward. Anybody who's watching us on the digital and social channels will notice that both Dan and Johnny are wearing green shirts, but Johnny's is more Vietnam khaki and Dan's is more Masters green.
This is entirely coincidental. But I did note you giving our fans an update on the listenership figures, JD. So we're all delighted.
Oh, was it? Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, and as you say, figures go up and down, but ours just go up, and we'll never tell when they go down anymore. So just going to go up, and the figures are good.
But they went down.
He's in the sort of a comical alley khaki, as you can see there. Yeah.
They went down 3 months ago, and then they've gone up a bit again, and that's the madness of it. Look, it's more about how the show stands, isn't it? But look, it's better that they go up than they go down.
What is the secret to its notional
It's
success?
You, Johnny. You are the secret. It's the Evan Ferguson. It's the hot takes about Evan Ferguson.
Smoking hot takes, yeah.
I don't know. People just like listen to us on a. Well, they listen anyway. Well, I'm not sure if they like listen, but they listen on a Saturday.
We're getting into Golden Clark territory here, I think.
Just a small bit, yeah.
Thanks to everyone for enjoying the show, and hopefully we have a few more to come.
Yeah, it could be for 1 till 3, John. To be clear,
no
suggestion is for 3 till 5.
Oh, actually, sorry. Yeah.
Good point. It's not all about you.
We've Mark Lawrenson chuckling away in the background there. Mark Lawrenson is a legend of big audience from the BBC all those years ago. Laura, what do you think of the early game? Leeds, Newcastle, not enough maybe for Leeds. They probably needed the win.
Yeah, they probably needed to win. Obviously, if you miss penalties, it's not good. But there's no question about the fight. There's no question about they looked a little bit better organised under Big Sam. So that was a bonus. I thought obviously Newcastle were a better team and really should have won the game. But from Leeds' point of view, they'll feel good. I think they might need a win and a draw from the last two to stay up, John, to be honest with you, because it's there's something about the way that they play. It's all too hectic all the time, and there are too many players playing with their heads down, which, Big Sam had the time, he'd obviously be able to sort out. But at the moment, it's just a matter now of, as I say, getting the last 2 games out of the way, but also getting those points if possible.
Yeah, fireman Sam. Jacob Ramsey scored for Aston Villa 1-0 against Spurs. Man United, Wolves, Southampton, Fulham, Palace, Bournemouth, Chelsea, Forest. It was a bit of a madcap game, as Lawrence said.
It was, yeah. I mean, I think the whole relegation picture, like that Everton win in Brighton on Monday, has probably thrown people. You know, it's probably one that you would have looked at it on paper and thought Brighton are flying. That's not, and now Everton have suddenly really put the squeeze on everyone there. So you're in a situation where maybe before Monday, if you'd said to Leeds you'd draw this game, you'd probably think, okay, you know, you would sort of take it. But obviously it's a slightly different scenario. Yeah, it was a bit madcap. I completely agree. Like with Laura's take, you can even just see Newcastle still have greater quality. Like, I mean, football's about players ultimately. Like, they have better players, you know, and better decisions. And there was 1 or 2 times in the first half actually when Newcastle weren't really at it today, and Leeds just weren't good enough to maybe punish them at times. And I mean, then you have the penalty incidences. You have the red card late on. It was just it was a sort of a typical late season game, maybe in a way, where the stakes are really high. So there's a frantic element to it. But the application from both sides wasn't top notch, and I don't know how Newcastle even end up feeling about it, because we'll see what happens at Manchester United and Wolves, but everyone's doing their best to open the door for Liverpool to make a run into that top 4 picture as well. You sort of feel like it's beyond them, and then if that finished in a defeat for Newcastle today, you're just looking at it and thinking maybe not here.
A fan pushed Eddie Howe in the technical area, which is pretty unsavoury stuff. Towards the end of the game, what's the temperature like on Merseyside about Everton? Sean Dyche, the miracle man, he's there. Sam Allardyce.
I think it's all about, can they wear the pink shirt at home, isn't it?
Right.
Don't they win games when they wear that pink kit? Look, you know, we know it's City at the weekend, and I think it was last season, John, where excuse me, didn't City get away with a blatant penalty that should have been given against them? And I think the Evertonians will remember that. I think they will remind the referee before it starts. And, you know, regardless of the team that Everton will put out, they will have a real go, because the supporters there demand it. It will be the first time, if they do go out the league, they've ever been out of the league. So that's a massive thing. We've got the new stadium at Branley Dock, which is going up by the day and looks like it's going to be fantastic. But unfortunately, it may look like they might have to be playing in the Championship when it starts. But they will fight. They will fight City. And what does the manager do in terms of
rope it up?
I don't mean Sean Dyche, obviously. I mean the top manager probably arguably in the world at the moment, which
rotates his team, Laura. Rotates his team. Plays like Foden and Mahrez and Phillips. These kind of players. Yeah,
I think that's what he'll probably look at. But it's a balancing act, isn't it, as well? And you know, if you change too many, and it takes you 20 minutes to get in the game, you might be one down. I mean, look, if they play anything like City, they will win. But you just don't know, dear. I mean, was it Fulham the other week with City? Fulham gave them a really good game. You know, so you just never know. And the other thing is, you don't know what's going on in players' heads, as in, you know, they're thinking, massive game, Wednesday, Real Madrid, we could be in the final of the Champions League. And the thing is, John, if you're 10% off at this level, it's a big thing. You have to play at 100 in every single game. And the other thing as well is, if you're a bit 10% off sometimes, you end up getting injured, because you kind of almost, shall I, shan't I, those kind of stuff. So, be interesting. It'll be a good game to watch. That, I think it really will. That will be another 100-mile-an-hour game.
And if you want to listen to it, you can here on News Talk tomorrow. We got commentary of that game, and Arsenal Brighton. So looking at the run-in, lads. City have Chelsea at home, Brighton and Brentford away. Arsenal have Forest away, but they also have Brighton and Wolves at home. So Arsenal have an easier run-in. If City do slip up, there is a chink of an opening for Arsenal.
Hard to see it. I mean, I wouldn't be confident Arsenal beat Brighton tomorrow. Arsenal's form has been patching out for the last month or so. They did overcome Chelsea last week comfortably, but in general, I thought they were very poor in the Man City game, JD. I thought that was a sign of kind of just where the title race has gone.
This is when Erling Haaland was good outside the box.
Yeah, I was just looking, the guy who got the Christensen, who got the equaliser today for Leeds, played with Haaland actually in Redberg Salzburg, and it was a kind of just talking about the game this morning, it was kind of had everything in many ways. Like it had VAR at its dramatic best as well, where you have debatable decisions that you're looking at VAR and you're still not even sure, looking at the replays, whether, I mean, Junior Firpo's tackle for me, I was just looking 59 minutes. I mean, that to me is absolute stonewall red card. Like he's out of control. I know that the tackle was sort of embellished by slow-mo replays, but to me that's a red card. But you're kind of, you can see then why it's not given, because in normal play it might not be a clear and obvious error by the referee, but like Firpo, who obviously did end up getting sent off in the end, then handles the ball for the penalty in 69 minutes, where he looks like he may be pushed in the back, and it's not even entirely conclusive that he handled the ball, although it looks like he did. Doesn't get sent off, even though he should probably get a second yellow. And you're thinking, well, Leeds should be 2-0 up, because Bamford hit a terrible penalty. He should obviously have scored that and made them 2-0 up. But then Christensen, who's this like real sort of Nordic hardman look about him, like gets the goal. It's a kind of a poxy goal that comes off Trippier's head. And in fairness, Ellen Road was absolutely rocking. And the decision to bring in Sam and the two lads at this stage, like it seems to have galvanised them a bit. They were always in the game. They battled very well, but they still have a mountain to climb in that battle. And as Dan says, it would be one of the real anomalies of the season if Liverpool could sneak top four, and it's not out of the question at all at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, on the Arsenal point, I think this is the thing that, like, the fact that City have one pass, it just feel like they're okay.
Yeah.
You know, they have the ability to slip up once and they're still fine, and that's crucial, you know, because you just feel like, and maybe if there was going to be a time, it would be between the two legs of the Madrid game.
Yeah.
You'd think once they're out of that, I know you're talking about the run in, you know, how it sounds, you know, but like, what does Chelsea even mean now? You know what I mean? Like, in terms of, you're thinking of Chelsea in a different term. You know that City will look after those games. You feel this is the one. Yeah, you're right. Like, you're both right in the sense of it can be sticky for them, and if you change too much, then you lose the balance. But the flip side is, you are thinking then, like, these top sides are so good and Everton are down at the bottom for a reason, that you would think City are capable of managing it reasonably comfortably once they maybe overcome an early storm. Because I mean, in some ways, like Everton against Brighton, like, it was a freaky
22% possession.
It was a freakish result. You know, like the sort of the Dwight McNeil, you know, everything he touches sort of turns.
Ronnie Rosenthal, yeah.
It was sort of amazing, almost to the point where, like, you just analyse it and go, yeah, it was just one of those games where mad stuff happens, rather than it being indicative of some kind of trend that they have a performance to carry into the next game. That almost just won't happen again. It can't happen again.
What about Seamus Coleman? What's his future?
Yeah, I mean, what a Seamus Coleman. Well, we'll see obviously what the severity of the injury is. And, you know, you'd imagine is his fate wrapped in? Would Everton stay up or not? I don't know about that. I still find it hard to see him leaving that club, regardless of the scenario. We're still waiting. Like, it's just sort of ironic in a way. It's always the way that, like, with these sort of older players, you get to the stage where you tend to, like, write them off at a particular point. And then they have a run of form which makes you appreciate, actually, no, we've been a little bit too premature in doing that. And what we've seen with Seamus Coleman, and Stephen Kenny's made this point numerous times, that probably in the last 18 months, 2 years, he's maybe suffered from playing through the pain barrier at times, and his performance level was probably affected by, you know, trying to play when he wasn't 100% right. And yet when he got 100% right at the start of this year, he was starting to play a lot better for club and for country, and he has the injury. But I don't know what the future holds, but I can't imagine there's going to be some abrupt end to his Everton time. I'd be highly surprised if that came to pass.
John,
yeah, Laura.
What exactly is his injury?
Well, that's what we're still waiting to find out. That it wasn't an ACL, but it was knee. So you're sort of assuming is it medial or is it some other version of the knee? I don't know, unless you've heard any clarity on it, Mark. But it's been kept reasonably tight.
Okay. Well, I would probably take that as a good thing, because if it's your ACL, I mean, straight away, everyone just says straight away, don't they? It's the ACL, so that obviously sounds better. it's like anything. I think the recovery is the big thing. But, honestly, at these football clubs now, it's amazing how they get these players back fit again. And when I say the players, I mean the older players as well. I mean, Seamus has been playing really well, has he not? Mm-hmm. And it looked for a while ago, I saw him play a couple of games on the run, and he looked like he was finished insofar as he just had no pace whatsoever. So it's absolutely the medical side of football now at this level is absolutely amazing in terms of returning players back, not just to play, but to play extremely well.
Forest 1-0 up at Chelsea. I'm just looking, JD, if it were to finish like that, Forest to be 6 points behind Chelsea. How can... I know we've spoken about...
And when he scored twice against Southampton. He's scored again now.
There was a freakish element to that game too. Like, Southampton actually weren't that bad in that game, but Forest, like the clinical nature of their attacking in that game.
Yeah, and an early lead as well. I think an early lead helped.
Yeah, like Southampton actually weren't that bad in that game, but Forest were just like brilliant, sort of like Gibbs White touch for the last goal, and there's just the quality of their attacking play was actually very good. Yeah. That's a crazy. I mean, I know it was very, very early, and it just goes to show you just can't trust Chelsea to stand for anything. But can you imagine the reaction in the other dressing rooms, the relegation dressing rooms, if that result holds?
Yeah.
Suddenly Leeds' day feels a lot worse actually.
Yeah.
Than it did at full time.
What about that City Real game, Laura? I thought it was brilliant quality, but look, you played the game. How good was it?
Brilliant. I would agree. Totally. I think the only little thing that got to me was, Madrid trying to run the referee towards the end of the game as well, going down for everything and moaning like hell at every single foul. But they were going to do that because they felt under pressure then. They realised that City had improved from last season. But just the pace that the game was played at, the ability of all the players, the first touch of all the players as well, and tactically as well is brilliant. And it just shows you that, and everybody goes on about Haaland for Man City, and rightly so.
De Bruyne.
Yeah. He is just absolutely outstanding, and he just sees everything. He makes the game look so easy. And I read this thing that he did the other week, and somebody had said to him that he's the most, he passes more than anybody else, and he went, hold on. He said, if you tell me I pass more than anybody else, that is as long as I'm passing forward, I'll take it. He said, but I'm not having any of this passing sideways or passing backwards and all those kind of things like you see from a lot of modern day midfield players. And he's just brilliant because, his touch is great, and he's up straight away. He's got the ball in front of him. He knows where it is, and he's just got this view of everybody, where to pass it, where not to pass it, probably just as well. And he just passes you the ball exactly where you want it. And I just rave about him. I just think he's absolutely brilliant.
The vital moments in the tie, I texted Dan, JD, at 9:20. I was like, there would be a few cards if this game were in the LOI, including at least one of the coaching staff, because the referee was pretty much letting an awful lot go. Ancelotti actually got booked in the second half.
Yeah, unfairly as well.
Yeah, and it was unfairly with Ancelotti, but the save that Courtois made from De Bruyne when it was 1-0 was an unbelievable save, where he's going away from the ball, and now De Bruyne got his goal, but when you're looking back at that, like, City in the second half were very good, but
once they equalised,
Madrid were brilliant for the 15-20 minutes.
Like the first 20 minutes, I was following the game, sort of, just looking at how the betting markets were reacting, and City collapsed in price early because it's so much the ball. But you just get this sense with Real that they kind of always know what they're doing. They always have a mindset of how to manage a game, and I do, like, there's no way Man City should not win the second leg, but for some reason it's hard to be confident just with that gyps that they've had in the Champions League.
I think they're more mature now. I thought the team he put out was mature, experienced. There was no madcap decisions.
Yeah, it's funny though. Like, goals definitely change games, and that's
like Real could have easily been 2-0 up and
Madrid were so good in that spell, and you're thinking. But I suppose, like, when the first goal came, is when City had been, the first 15-20 minutes, like, City were controlling the game. But I feel like there's a twist in the tail still.
You think so?
Definitely, yeah. I think it's very possible. Yeah,
I think City are going to win. They haven't lost at home since 2018 the Champions League.
I understand. Wow. I understand why. You're just going to keep saying City are going to. I mean, it's a hot take. It's like this guy Messi's a good player. He might score if you watch him.
Haaland's
you know,
going to get 6.
but
Haaland,
the thing is, I don't know. I just think that Madrid, the Vinicius and even Rodrigo, and you can just see it. You can see them. They have that ability to do it. I understand. Like if you analyse the game, the teams, and the level of performance, you're going to come down. Most people are going to come down with City. The betting markets reflect that it should be City. But I don't know. Actually, Madrid, I thought were managing that game very well in the second half. But then, of course, when you have an amazing player like De Bruyne can produce something like that, I mean, that is it. You talked about earlier, it comes back to players. Like, you know, great players will decide games in moments and completely turn the momentum. But
you knock as well, Dan. You knock, you know, the way football is at the top level. But when it's played at that level, like, it's an extraordinary watch.
Well, there's nothing better. I got to watch that for 3 hours.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Well, here's the thing. Like, the City need to be ahead at half time. Like, the longer it goes on and they're not ahead, does that play into the Madrid?
I just don't see that. I see a more calm Guardiola this season. I think with Haaland as a focal point. But I do agree with you. Like, the first time in a long time I've seen City dominating the game. First 15-20 minutes that second half, they needed the goal. They got the goal, calmed them down. It was hot. I think they got a better bench.
Yeah.
Like they beat.
It's 50-50 for me.
They beat Munich 3-0.
50-50.
It can't be 50-50, Laura, though, because like City were hot favourites away from home, so now they're even hotter favourites at home. So how is it 50-50?
Well, they're playing the champions.
But well, because you know, with Madrid can have a mad, as in positively mad, 20 minutes and score twice against you. They've definitely got that in them, and you know when you watch them play in this competition, they feel it is their competition, and who's to argue against that? And they've got that confidence knowing that they're capable of beating anybody. And yes, of course, City are an outstanding team, but it's not finished by a long shot for me, this.
Is it failure if they don't win it, City, this season?
Absolutely.
No.
Oh, it is, Laura. I mean, how many chances do you want?
I'm joking. Yeah, of course it is. Yeah,
and it's a bit harsh to say that with Man City, with Real in the way, but yeah, it is, Laura, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah, of course it is, because this is what the owners when they bought the football club. Yeah, they want to win the Premier League and the FA Cup and the Carabao Cup and all those kind of things. But ultimately, you have to win the biggest competition available to your football club, and undoubtedly, as we know, this is it, the big one.
Did it become more important when you were playing for Liverpool, Laro, to win the European Cup than the League Championship?
Oh, probably not, John. No, I think that it was almost like a bonus. I think the 42-game slog in what was the Football League was the ultimate achievement when you consider that pitches, diets, all those kind of things, training pitches, all those kind. I didn't want to say that, whatever. But yeah, I think it was always going to be the hardest one, most definitely. And the first 2 rounds of the European Cup, you could play some dodos, to be quite honest with you. I think quite often in the whatever round we came in, I think we beat one lot 11-0 once. That was easy, but then obviously quarter-final onwards was completely different. But there was no coming in the dressing room at the start of the season and saying that we want to win this one this year or this other one. It was just whatever you win. If you win anything, they would always take the boot room people.
I think probably the game now as well. The problem you have is that you have this era of so many dominant clubs within leagues. And I know that Liverpool team won their league most years, but you have this situation now. You have clubs like Bayern, PSG haven't even won the French league every year, but their focus is almost the Champions League. Like Juventus in recent years had that long run. It's obviously, thankfully, it's changed there now. And City's run is not a million miles from that. To the
5 out of 6 if they win this.
Yeah, that there is the sense that for a lot of these clubs, I mean, and Real Madrid have always measured themselves on Champions League. If you go to the Bernabeu and the stadium tour there, their history is all built around.
Have you done it?
Yeah, and I did both Barcelona and Madrid, both stadium tours, this is years back in the same holiday. And the Barcelona one is all about the history of the club and everything. It's a brilliant. But the Madrid one, the whole centrepiece is their European Cups, and I assume now that's been updated to reflect the more recent ones. But it's very much like, we won some leagues, but there's a presentation on each European Cup win.
With respect to Laro as well, like, it was funny. I was at Kilbeggan last night, and I ended up
the racetrack, Laro.
ended up interviewing a little kid from Seville, and the guy who was working with me, the cameraman Dan, he's from Romania, and he's like, "What's the name of the stadium in Seville?" And I said, I actually don't know. And he named it out to me, and he said, "I know this because Steaua Bucharest played there in the 1986 European Cup final against Barcelona." And that was the era that Lauro was is more from, where it was a knockout competition involving, and it's nowhere near, like, the prospect of Steaua Bucharest winning the European Cup now is completely fanciful. That kind of romance has gone out of it, and that's why it's funny to see the likes of PSG struggle so much because of the money that they've spent, and they've basically been a flop in the Champions League, despite you have that ridiculous situation of Messi kind of taking a day off to to obey his Saudi masters, and then PSG are like, "You need to come back, we need you training here," and it's a completely different competition nowadays to when it was a proper knockout, as Laura says. You could kind of canter into the quarterfinals at times.
Didn't Steaua Bucharest beat Barcelona, who was manager of Barcelona?
El Tel, Terry Venables.
El Tel, and if you, I've met him quite a few occasions, and we ended up speaking about European Cup and all those kind of things. And he said, and he was extremely serious. He said, honestly, Steaua played for penalties from the first minute. And that's exactly what they got. So, it was a completely different competition, most definitely. The other thing from our point of view, when we're at Liverpool playing in the European Cup, we'd know nothing about the opposition players.
It's mad, isn't it?
Yeah, we'd know absolutely nothing. And I think apart from when we won it in Rome in, what was it, 84, Joe Fagan was the manager. And they had a couple of Brazilians who were top
Falcao
players.
would play for them.
Falcao, yeah, and then there was another one, and Joe Fagan said to us, he said the lad who basically gets them playing was Di Bartolome, and we went, well, who the hell's he? We've never even heard of him and everything. And all our lot would say was, whoever's closest, obviously, stay there and just make sure that you get his head down so he can't sort of pass to anybody, but. You would have no idea who you were playing against, whether he was big, he was strong, he was small, he was left-footed, right-footed. It was like, go on then, sort it out.
You know who was injured for that game? Carlo Ancelotti played for Roma, won the league the previous season. Was playing for Roma at the time.
Oh right, was he? I didn't know that.
If you look back on that, this just shows how football, like we take for granted how much has changed. That game in 1986, Lauro, every single player for Steaua Bucharest that played was from Romania, and the only non-Spaniard playing for Barcelona that day was Steve Archibald.
Yeah,
and Schuster as well.
Yeah,
and
of course, it was a communist country.
And there was El Tel on the sideline. But yeah, it's hard to. That was a long time ago.
He's had an unbelievable footballing journey, Carlo Ancelotti. Roma winning the league, then went to AC Milan, played in those European Cups, and then he managed Juventus in the United game, the Roy Keane game. He managed Juventus in that game. Then went to AC Milan, won two Champions Leagues with Real Madrid, and a stint at Everton in the middle.
I know we had like Ronnie O'Sullivan in studio this week, but if you could get Ancelotti here, JD, I think all our work is done. Like, he is literally the coolest dude ever, and for some reason he still has it. Like, they play for him, they seem to love him, and he manages the situation. And I think it's interesting as well, Laura. I know Pep evolves a lot as a coach. Like, he seems to be evolving the whole time, but Ancelotti it's interesting that he doesn't necessarily have a philosophy in terms of how they play. It's like how we win the next game.
Yeah, he's got his son with him, hasn't he, as well? And do you know what? I've met him a couple of times. He's just an absolute top bloke. And where he's been really, really clever is when a better and bigger team have come along, no matter how he's doing at his club, he's just gone. He's just gone. I mean, he did it with Everton, didn't he? And I was just going to say, the other point about Steaua Bucharest was they were actually they were all in the army, as it were. So they were basically the Romanian national team.
Yeah,
because we beat a fan of them in those days, no doubt.
We beat Dinamo Bucharest, I think, in the two-legged semi-final, and they basically were all in the they were in the army, and they were just basically professionals. But they went under the banner of obviously Dinamo Bucharest rather than the national team.
United have scored. Man United 1, Wolves 0. Anthony Martial.
I'm reading a book on the Charlton brothers at the moment.
Is that the one
Jonathan
by?
Wilson's.
I have that at home. Yes,
fantastic book. I'm only 4 or 5 chapters in, but it's interesting. It's around about the Munich air disaster now, and it's just talking about the infancy that European football was at that time, and how people were just vaguely getting into it, and how much they loved the idea of it's hard to believe it, and you didn't know much about the opposition even, Laura, all those years later.
No,
the Busby Babes.
No, nothing.
The Busby Babes played in Dalymount here. Their first ever European Cup match involving an Irish team was the Busby Babes playing here in 57, I think.
They're both having the jersey out.
No, it was Rovers they were playing.
Okay.
Yeah.
YouTube commenters, nice to be thanked. Just waiting for Johnny to compare Evan Ferguson to Thor mixed with Maradona.
It's 3:30, so give it another hour.
Yeah.
Shall you start tomorrow, JD?
Yeah, you probably should.
Yeah.
Shelburne 1, DLR Waves 0 in the Women's National League. Before we go to the break, have you been in touch with your mate Moyes recently, Laro? Good win for them during the week?
Yeah, no, just sent him a text because he's busy at the moment. He'd been under a bit of pressure, but just sent him a text, obviously, because it was a comeback the other night, wasn't it? I think it's in terms of they keep having these stories about if he leaves, such and such a body's going to take over. But I think from his point of view, reading between the lines, I think he just feels really, really comfortable where they are and what they're doing.
Yeah, because if they win this Conference League, its first major trophy since 1980, they're into the Europa League next season, so you're kind of almost vaulting from wherever they are on the table up to 7th, 6th. And yeah, that's not a bad return. Where is Rice going? Any sense of where Rice is going in the summer? Because he's leaving.
No, I don't know. I don't ask him questions like that because every other bugger asks him, don't they? So, yeah, I don't know where he's going.
Here's one, Laura. If you're Declan Rice...
Yes.
First of all, I think you wouldn't have abandoned Ireland. But secondly, who would you go to, Liverpool or Man United?
Be Arsenal.
Say if they were the options, right?
I think Arsenal are a big player in it seems to be so.
Liverpool desperately need someone like that.
Yeah. Well, right. Okay. Let's turn that round a little bit because if he's going to be 80 million plus, Liverpool won't be buying him. Because I think they need 3, and I think they can't sort of spend nearly all their money on one player, so that won't happen. You could see him going to Arsenal most definitely. Look, the other thing about it is he might just want to stay in London, might he? And then that makes your decision really, really easy because where do you go? You will go to Arsenal.
You kind of wondered at one stage were Chelsea just going to come out with the big joint checkbook and try and sign him as well.
But I mean,
bring him back.
Would you go to Chelsea when you look at it because it's an absolute total mess?
They rejected him when he was a teenager. So
there might be an element of go back to, I'm not saying it's going to happen. I think there was a bit of chat a while back that he was open to that, but that was even before Chelsea had gone to another level of
madness,
of bonkers. But I mean, he's close to John Terry and all of that. You could just imagine. I think that angle probably would have appealed to him if Chelsea was more.
Yeah, stably run.
Stable, yeah.
Okay, we've got to take a break. 53106, Laro, Dan McDonnell and Johnny Ward on Football Saturday. Leeds 2, Newcastle 2 result from the Premier League. Aston Villa 1, Spurs 0 at the moment. Jacob Ramsey. Forest 1-0 up away to Chelsea. Awani again. Man United 1, Wolves 0, Anthony Martial. Palace 0, Bournemouth 0 and Southampton 0, Fulham 0. We're back after this.
Football on Off the Ball.
With Sky. Don't miss Everton versus Man City on Super Sunday. Live. Only on Sky Sports.
This is News Talk. Talking History.
This Sunday on Talking History, we'll preview a new film on the life and career of an 18th century composer and violinist whose career was held back because of his skin colour.
Music was just one small facet of Bologna's truly remarkable personal and professional identity.
Talking History.
This Sunday at 7 p.m.
on News Talk. Conversation that counts.
My perfect escape would be...
a city break. Somewhere with loads to do.
Nothing. Just relax and go.
Out. Dinner and drinks in the hotel before heading
to bed. Nice and early for an amazing night's sleep.
At Maldron Hotels, we provide you with everything you need to escape your way across Ireland and the UK. Save on every room, every night when you book direct with Click on Maldron at maldronhotels.com.
Are you looking for an affordable alternative to a nursing home or private visiting care service? AL Home Care are the live-in care specialists that give your loved ones the independence they deserve. Contact us today at alhomecare.ie. That's alhomecare.ie.
Now every teacher can teach basic water safety in the classroom. Water Safety Ireland have created water safety education programs for all ages. Preschool, primary school and secondary school pupils. Called Hold Hands, Pause and Wise. All resources are free and available digitally. Find out more at watersafety.ie/education. Supported by the Government of Ireland.
Go full Lidl for a summer of savings just like our customers.
We've a lot more in the fridge by the end of the week. Like, we're never running empty anymore. So it's fantastic to be able to budget and know this is what we're going to spend. And the kids can always throw in an extra few bits here and there. Like, our youngest girl throws and hides everything in the trolley.
Go on, go full Lidl today.
Hi, I'm Lorraine O'Connor from St Peregrine's GAA Club. We recently upgraded our clubhouse to Air Gigabit Fibre Broadband for business. Between managing our memberships online, hosting events and live streaming matches, a fast and reliable broadband connection is essential for us. It's been amazing for our club. What could it do for yours?
For more about Air Gigabit Fibre Broadband for your business or club, visit air.ie/business. Go in store or call 1800 207 407. Subject to availability. Business broadband T's and C's apply.
The Harvey Norman 5-day furniture clearance event is now on, with incredible deals across our range of sofas and dining furniture in stock for quick delivery. But hurry, only while stocks last. With 3-seater sofas from below $599, 3-seater recliner sofas from just $799, 5-piece extending dining sets including table and 4 chairs starting from only $599. Plus so much more in store and online at the Harvey Norman 5-day furniture clearance. Must end Monday. Don't miss out.
Go! Mr. Blue Sky, please tell us why.
The Lotto jackpot is an estimated €8 million. Play responsibly in store, in app or at lottery.ie. The National Lottery. It could be you.
Football on Off the Ball.
With Sky, don't miss Leicester versus Liverpool on Monday Night Football. Live only on Sky Sports.
This is News Talk.
This is Football Saturday all the way until 5, folks, with John Duggan in the chair, with Dan McDonnell beside me and Johnny Ward, down from the Irish Independent, and Mark Lawrenson, the former Liverpool and Ireland defender, is on the line. In terms of football, what's going on at the moment? Well, Crystal Palace have just scored against Bournemouth. That is subject to VAR, but that's a 1-0 lead down at Selhurst Park. Eze, he's having a really good season, Eberechi Eze. Man United 1, Wolves 0, Anthony Martial. Southampton 0, Fulham 0. No half-5 game today. Chelsea 0, Forest 1, Awani. And that is a massive goal for ours because Leeds were held to a 2-2 draw by Newcastle earlier. Villa 1, Spurs 0, coming up to half-time. Sunderland, Luton in the Championship playoff. The other one tomorrow is Coventry, Middlesbrough. So some Irish lads involved. Darragh Lennon for Middlesbrough, Luke McNally for Coventry.
Big mention to Dan's colleague, Aidan O'Hara as well, who's probably the only... I actually know 2 Luton Town fans. My mate at home met him recently, actually hadn't seen him in years. He used to live in Luton, so he became a Luton Town fan. But I don't know what Aido's excuse is. It's an obscure one anyway.
There is one, but they do exist, yeah. Probably something to do with when they came to the fore. I was only listening to a podcast yesterday with Mick Harford, actually.
Yeah.
Sort of Mick Harford's career and some colourful stories, but he's obviously Mr. Luton. But yeah, the championship. Did you play against Mick Harford, Laura? I'm trying to think. Did you cross paths? Yeah.
Oh yeah, we used to get battered by him on a regular basis.
Yeah.
It was brutal. I mean, he was a decent player, but he just wanted to smash you all the time. But I also, if you remember, David Pleat was manager of Luton for a while, and they were a really good footballing team. Some really good players. 4 or 5 of them went on to play for England.
You had the Steens, you had Ricky Hill.
Yeah.
Paul Walsh.
Mal Donaghy played for Northern Ireland.
Yeah. And it's incredible that Luton went down just before the Premier League sort of came into being, and now they're in the shake-up to return. They came third. Like, they are... They should win the playoffs, if you believe that.
There was a young Irish guy who played for Ireland. Was it Louis Watson?
Louis Watson, yeah. There's a few. I mean, Shawnee Maguire's at Coventry as well, but hasn't really played since he's gone there. So there's a few involved, although probably not maybe all the Irish stories you would want. Like West Brom obviously looked good for a while. Preston, as Laura would know, we're in the shake-up, but ultimately just not good enough. There would have been sort of a month ago or so back, you might have thought there could be more interest in the playoffs. But McNally's on loan at Coventry from Burnley and has done really well since he's gone there. Both from Meath, actually. The two lads, which is slightly unusual considering Meath didn't have a senior international.
Evan Ferguson.
Evan Ferguson, there we go. There's your second Evan Ferguson mentioned, 343.
Three lads from Meath, yeah.
Yeah, it's sort of like, I mean, I know some of them are the Meath sprawling out from Dublin, and you'll annoy people by talking about that. But yeah, Darragh Lenihan would be a good story. I mean, Darragh Lenihan went to Blackburn, as a kid and had injury issues, was almost looked like going to be a one club man, but then has gone to Middlesbrough, and he's one who could actually, it'd be very, very interesting to see how he would do in the Premier League if he went up. And pretty versatile defender, can play in a back three, a back four. Came and played in that Ireland game against Ukraine last year. Did absolutely fine over in Poland, but then pretty much hasn't been involved since. So yeah, it'd be great. It's a good story either way. I don't know what's going to happen with McNally. Burnley have obviously gone up. So is he going to be part of their plans? Would it be part of Coventry's plans if they went up? But again, Coventry, like Luton, Coventry, Middlesbrough, Sunderland, you're sort of you're getting a sort of a traditional team there, as opposed to sort of a new money team.
Traditional fish and chips.
I think Coventry Loro lost like the first 6 or 7 games and were not nowhere near mapped. McNally, in fairness, only came in on loan, and then they have massive momentum because like they've had an amazing 2023, and I firmly think going into the playoffs with momentum is huge.
Yeah, I'm right in thinking I don't think they played at home for about 6 weeks, did they?
Yeah,
there a problem with? There was a problem with the pitch, but I tell you, the three managers of obviously Coventry, Luton, and who's the other one? Millwall. They've done brilliantly. If you look, if you had that league table in the Championship of wages, they would be in the bottom 6, all three, and they've done brilliantly.
Yeah,
Millwall kind of had a big wobble on the last.
Away, didn't
they?
They were
3-1 up at half time. Gary Rowett, they've done really well, and it has been a sort of a strange season in the Championship that like Norwich completely underperformed. You probably would have thought they would be one of the ones, and there's probably one or two other obvious ones, that you would imagine, and like even Preston would be one of the lowest wage bills as well. They were in the shake-up. We're 20th, is it? Yeah,
that's mad.
Yeah, and then the other end of the table, you've Reading went down after the points deduction. And some very underperforming, decent sized clubs. So I mean, the Wigan situation was crazy. Like players weren't being paid in the last week or so of the season there, and they had a takeover last year and looked like they were in a good state. So I think it's going to be a good story whoever comes up.
Yeah.
In that, I think either way you could there's a good angle to it. I mean, Sunderland have sort of come in the back door. Tony Mowbray. That would be a nice story for
Michael
them.
Carrick at Middlesbrough.
Yeah, Michael Carrick, and then Mark Robbins, of course, at Coventry.
Save Ferguson's life in football.
The other thing as well, John, is that you talk about Tony Mowbray. Blackburn just let his contract run down.
Yeah.
And they just said, "Oh, well, thanks very much, Tony. You've done your job, but off you go." So how sweet it is for him where he's finished in regard to where Blackburn have finished.
Yeah, and Blackburn actually got him into the playoffs too, which is the irony of it by coming back against Millwall.
7th,
with Jon Dahl Thomason, the manager of Blackburn. Yeah. So it's a mad old division. Like it hasn't. I know we're going to talk about the Irish year in it. Josh Cullen has gone up, which is brilliant, and John Egan.
And company signed a new deal there.
And we'll see. Like Obafemi, I think that deal has to be made permanent, although he hasn't really been playing for Burnley as much. And Enda Stevens has been injured. You sort of forget Enda Stevens is still at Sheffield United. So, but definitely, Cullen has been won the Players' Player of the Year there, and I think one of the other fans awards. So it's going to be great for him. He's someone who will go up and play every week, you would think, in the Premier League.
Yeah.
And Egan, you would imagine, will go up and play every week in the Premier League for Sheffield United too. It's just maybe a couple of the other players, like maybe you're looking at Norwich, maybe again Ida, Momo Badele sort of had stop-start seasons. Ogbenny, you presume, will move on from Rotherham now and see where he goes. Like James McLean and Wigan were relegated. The Reading, Shane Long, Jeff Hendrick were at Reading, they went down. So it's been a bit of a mixed bag of a year for our players at that level. Like Tom Cannon at Preston's been one of the good news stories. A couple of other players just had okay seasons. Parrott had an okay season. There's probably a lot more of them in that bracket that their season was fine. Darragh O'Shea was doing very well at West Brom and then got injured. Jason Malumbi actually had a good season at West Brom, and probably no harm. He'll benefit from a full season at West Brom as a team that would probably fancy their chances, I would imagine, next year. But yeah, it's just an okay season for our players there, I think.
Luton Town in the 80s had this plastic pitch.
That's right, I remember that.
Anybody remembers it? It was like, it wasn't AstroTurf, it was, I don't know what it was. Laura, I'm sure you played in it, did you?
Played in it. I remember we got beat on it. It was frozen. And you know what they did? They chucked sand on it as well. And it was, if you went down, you just cut your legs. It was absolutely horrendous, seriously. And we kept moaning to the referee, mind you, we were crap on the day. We kept moaning to the ref, and he just kept shrugging his shoulders. We kept saying, you can't play in this, it's impossible. But they beat us that day. I'm sure it wasn't good. The other one, talking about plastic pitches, was QPR.
Yeah, QPR.
And it was basically like wooden underneath the grass, and some of it had worn away, and the ball never went out of play. It would just kind of curl in and kept in play all the time. That was, in fact, that was Venables, talking about Terry Venables, wasn't it? That was his team played on it.
Yeah,
like a hockey pitch. A lot of people listening here would play five-a-side, and they would know the feeling of it.
It's horrible. Kenilworth Road capacity is 10,356 according to Wikipedia. Now, I think they have plans to move, but a lot of people listening in will be familiar with one of the entrances, which is literally a little bit of a hole in a street that just does not look like a football ground. I think it's the Oaks stand. And when you think Shamrock Rovers will have a capacity of similar to that in a few months. So if Luton were to go up, a capacity crowd of 10,300,
it would be the best story probably if they went up. I mean, considering they went down to the conference and they come back up, and I mean, they've obviously got investment along the way, but it's not quite one where they've it's not like a Wrexham style sort of investment. The fairy tale of Wrexham. The fairy tale.
Hey, talking guys. Just talking of that, Notts County are 1-0 down against Chesterfield.
Yeah, no, I saw that.
And the thing is about that, they got over 100 points. I mean, how ridiculous is that? So they get over 100 points and finish second and have to go and play in the playoffs. I mean, what's all that about?
But the size of that club, Notts County, as well. I watched a bit of their game last week, the comeback against Boreham Wood, and I'm obviously it's great. There's a great upturn in attendances here at home at the moment, and it's great. And actually, what you've seen in recent years in England is that you have some pretty small clubs actually in League Two at the moment, even League One, in terms of like their reach, like Forest Green and
Markham and Club.
Their attendances would be pretty small. But then you have like Notts County, who can over 20,000 people at their games.
The oldest professional club in the world.
Yeah,
like 1962.
Notts County, unbelievable attendances. And Chesterfield, with Paul Cook as the manager of Chesterfield, of course, who'd be well familiar to people in the game here. And in Chesterfield, like I was there a couple of years ago when Ireland were playing Holland in the under-17 championships. An amazing facility, but that'd be a fifth-tier facility. That is a fifth-tier facility in England at the moment, which is sort of like the depth of the system and the ladder over there is like it's
well, when you look at the coefficients, they're number one.
Yeah.
So.
But I mean, it's just then you'd see like these smaller clubs like Barrow and a few clubs that have got up in Harrogate, and they wouldn't have half the tradition of like some of these clubs in the conference or the National League over there. I mean, genuinely like huge clubs like Notts County. I mean, it's sort of scary when you think about it. They got that many points.
So Sven ended up there once, didn't he?
Jack Grealish was on loan there a couple of years ago. Jack Grealish was on loan at Notts County. That's where he would have played, and Graham Burke as well, and quite a few Irish players there in various capacities,
Stormers 24, Connacht 13. Not looking great for Connacht to reach that URC final. Leinster, Munster 5/5 start. Shelbourne 2, DLR Waves 0 in the Women's National League. Bolton 0, Barnsley 0 at the moment in that playoff, which is ongoing. We've obviously got Sunderland, as I said, against Luton at 5/5. This is the League One playoff. Bolton, Barnsley. Rangers beat Celtic 3-0 earlier on, but it's immaterial because Celtic are the Scottish Premiership champions. In the Premier League games, half times now. Villa 1, Spurs 0, Jacob Ramsey. Chelsea 0, Forest 1. Awani for Forest. What a win that would be, because Leeds drew 2-0 with Newcastle earlier. Palace won Bournemouth 0. The goal scored there by Eze. Man United won Wolves 0. This is a sleepy late end of season game for Man U, but look, it's important that they win it. Anthony Martial with the goal. Southampton 0, Fulham 0.
Does Lampard go down as like one of the worst appointments ever? Because like
it's not even Lampard's fault.
It's not. But it's just like what was the logic in that?
Steve
Like
Staunton as well. It wasn't the best.
But it was in fairness to Stan was relatively unexposed as a manager, whereas Lampard is exposed as not being very good as it is. He's not. He's been exposed as being a bad manager, actually, in the knowledge that we have of him. And you bring him into Chelsea, which is a massive job, and they're in the Champions League.
But I can understand why they did it, because they wanted to appoint a full-time manager, which is probably going to be Pochettino in the summer. So they wanted somebody to, be in a holding position.
Why Lampard? Just because he played with them?
Was it not James Corden's decision? Have I read the news? Have I read the news wrong? It was like, Corden, who are we going to go for here? It's like, I flick through my phone book and who do I find?
Lampard was probably like, what? Me? What? I don't know. Like,
it's hard to take anything. If you're offered anything good in life, it's very hard to turn it down, Johnny.
I'm not giving out about Lampard, but like, how can a club be run in a way that you've so much on the line?
Because the Premier League is a shiny toy for people with a lot of money and not an in-depth understanding.
Say what you like about the Saudis, but like Eddie, like Howe is an extremely good manager. Like, and Newcastle are absolutely.
No, but it seems like they've just told Amanda Staveley, go and run it there, and they brought in one of the best guys, Dan Ashworth, is the technical director, who was at FA in Brighton. How, and they've said, okay, let's just let this be a slow burn rather than spending $7 billion out of on transfers.
Nothing to do with the government, of course.
No, you can't actually say what you like about Saudis in certain places.
Even though you're wearing Saudi green today. So
khaki green,
yeah. No, you're the khaki. You're the Vietnam. So that's what's going on in the Premier League. Mark Lawrenson with us between 4 and 5. Going to talk about Liverpool, Man United, Kerry winning their first ever game in the League of Ireland, and the defeat for Bohemians, which allowed Shamrock Rovers go top of the table last night. And also embarrassing behaviour at football matches. Alf Inge Haaland's dad had to leave the premises the other day at the Real Madrid game. And the best atmospheres, folks, 53106, the best atmospheres you've ever been at a football game. We saw AC Milan, Inter Milan during the week, an incredible atmosphere. You could see it seep through the TV. We're back after the news.
Football on Off the Ball.
With Sky. Don't miss Arsenal versus Brighton on Super Sunday. Live only on Sky Sports.
This is News Talk. Keep up at News Talk FM on Twitter for breaking news alerts and on-demand podcasts. Here at News Talk, we've got some exciting original podcasts. Here's a snippet from Show Me the Science with Professor Luke O'Neill, a weekly series that explains different topics through science.
You might call this the science of the mind of animals. How about that for a title? And for a long time, all through history, philosophers have wondered if animals are like us. In other words, do they have minds? Or are they just little machines in a way that respond instinctively and what have you? Now, how we define the mind, by the way, is being aware of the world around you, being able to think and being able to feel. That's what defines the mind. And it's always been different to the brain, kind of. The brain is the lump of thing in your skull where the mind is. We don't really know what the mind is, if the truth be told. It's something to do with the wiring of the brain, and when you have feelings and emotions and you can use your intelligence and all that kind of stuff, that's tied up in the mind. And the big question is, do animals have minds? And of course they do.
To hear the full podcast, go to newstalk.com. The News Talk app, powered by Go Loud, or wherever you get your podcasts.
The Tile Style Summer Sale is now on, with a guaranteed 40% off all in-stock tiles, including porcelanosa, and huge savings on bathrooms, kitchens and wood flooring. All in stock and ready for immediate dispatch. That's an incredible 40% off all in-stock tiles and guaranteed savings on bathrooms, kitchens and wood floors. Don't miss out. Shop now while stocks last and save big at the Tile Style Summer Sale. In-store at Ballymount or online at tilestyle.ie.
Everyone kept telling us that summer is a lovely time to have a baby. But my little one was born 6 weeks early. She gets neonatal blood transfusions. They really help. She's a fighter. Someday soon we'll get to bring her home. That'll be really lovely.
We never get to choose when to need blood, but we can choose when to give. Visit giveblood.ie. We count on you.
Super Value makes saving money as easy as 1, 2, 3. 1. We match Aldi on the products you love. 2. Great special offers like Super Value Fresh Irish Round Roast, save 33%. Carmen Insigne Cabernet Sauvignon, only €8. And 3. Money off vouchers every week on the app. So follow the 1, 2, 3 and save money at Super Value. Enjoy alcohol responsibly.
At ESB Networks, we're connecting Ireland to a clean electric future. And as part of the National Smart Metering programme, we're now installing smart electricity meters in your area. Your new smart meter will reduce the need for estimated bills, help you to manage your electricity usage more efficiently, and enable you to access smart electricity products and services. We'll contact you before your meter is installed. Find out more at esbnetworks.ie/smartmeter.
From family breaks to city escapes, summer starts with Go Breaks. Discover our best Irish and European hotel deals now at gobreaks.ie.
Go Breaks.
Great news. That was our agent on the phone.
And?
We're booked for a tour of the Arctic Circle.
Jim, we're comedians, not penguins.
Actually, they're in the Antarctic.
And what about the lotto? What if our favourite numbers come up when we're off telling knock-knock jokes to polar bears?
That's actually funny.
You're funny.
Now you can schedule your favourite Lotto and Euro Millions numbers up to 12 months in advance and pay as you play. Download the National Lottery app to schedule your play. The National Lottery. It could be you. Play responsibly. Play for fun.
Taking Stock.
On this week's Taking Stock, new recruits, Hollywood bots, and a seminal European tax case.
Taking Stock.
With Mandy Johnston, thanks to Skillnet Ireland.
That's all on this week's Taking Stock here on News Talk with me, Mandy Johnston, on Sunday morning at 9.
News Talk. Conversation that counts. On 106 to 108 FM. On the News Talk app, powered by Go Loud and smart speakers. This is News Talk.
Good afternoon, the news with Alan Cantwell. Gardaí have made a major drug seizure in County Wexford. 33 kilos of cannabis with an estimated value of €660,000 was seized during the search of a premises in Enniscorthy at about 4:30 yesterday afternoon. No arrests were made and investigations are continuing. The Citizens' Assembly on Drug Use has heard it's widespread in Ireland. The Assembly, which was formally established in March, is holding its second meeting at Dublin Castle this weekend. Members also heard about the experiences of families and frontline workers about how drug use has impacted their lives, their work and their communities. Fionn Connolly Sexton says he started using drugs to deal with the traumas of the past.
I developed a few anxiety disorders, ADHD, which basically made my life hell. As I got into my early 20s, the world just felt wrong to me all the time. And I saw my friends using, cocaine and ecstasy. Now, for myself, I couldn't because I'm such an anxious person. It'll kill me the first try. My heart rate is already at a resting 99.
The staffing shortage at the Competition and Consumer Protection Commission is harming Irish consumers. There are more than 20 vacancies for some of the most senior positions at the consumer watchdog. Without filling the roles, the Commission is unable to investigate issues such as price gouging. Sinn Féin TD and party spokesperson for Enterprise, Louise O'Reilly, says the government is failing the public.
If the government were serious about tackling the issue of the spiralling cost of inflation and actually intervening on behalf of consumers, the first thing they should do is ensure that the CCPC, whose primary function is to protect the interests of consumers, adequately resourced and properly staffed. The CCPC won't be able to carry out their function if they are not properly resourced.
Final preparations are being made for the grand final of this year's Eurovision. All eyes will be on Liverpool tonight as the 26 finalists vie for the Eurovision trophy. Last year's runners-up are hosting the competition on behalf of Ukraine in light of the ongoing conflict with Russia. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has requested to speak tonight, but was denied permission over fears it would break the non-political nature of the event. That's it for now. We'll have more in an hour.
News Talk weather.
Thanks to Ryanair. Watch the FA Cup final live in Wembley with Ryanair's low-fare flights to Luton, Gatwick or Stansted.
Dry and becoming mostly sunny today and a light easterly breeze. Low cloud and fog will linger near coasts today. Highest temperatures 16 to 18 degrees. And now you're up to date on News Talk.
Football on Off the Ball.
With Sky. Don't miss Leicester versus Liverpool on Monday Night Football. Live only on Sky Sports.
This is News Talk.
And welcome back to Off the Ball Saturday here on News Talk. John Duggan with you 3 to 5. This is Football Saturday. Remember, Football and Off the Ball brought to you by Sky, proud partner and supporter of the Republic of Ireland Women's National Football Team. You can text us 53106 at a cost of 30 cents. Tweet us at Off the Ball. We're streaming the conversation. You can listen on News Talk on your radio across the country. Also watch us on the Off the Ball digital and social channels on Twitter, YouTube, Facebook. We also podcast the show on the Off the Ball section of the Go Loud Network. If you ever miss a live podcast, folks, so it's also available wherever you get your pods. This evening onwards, we're joined on the line by the former Republic of Ireland and Liverpool defender and league champion and European Cup winner Mark Lawrenson, and in studio by the football correspondent of the Irish Independent, Dan McDonnell, and the broadcaster and journalist Johnny Ward. Kerry FC won a game for the first ever time in the League of Ireland last night.
Yeah, it was talking about Notts County and like history, and I suppose Athlone are the long-serving club in Irish football, and for Kerry to go there and win, that's brilliant for them. Like I was down there at the start of the season, and I just love the goodwill that there is towards the idea, towards the concept, and like they've been struggling badly on the pitch. Yeah, and like fans are still coming, people are still interested, but they needed that win. And I don't know what it is about the story that, like, you even see last night, some of the social media stuff was like huge, like, you know, and all other big sports people in Kerry getting on board with the whole thing. There's like a real local pride thing, and that they want the team to do well. And I think maybe the reason why I'm probably invested in it a little bit is that we've probably spoken about it here a lot over the years, you know, the need to make the league mean more to people. You know, and I saw some people last night talking about how this is great, they now have a team in their locality, and there's obviously parts of the country where people just don't have that option. And then we might go on about, we need to support football in this country, and someone's like, well, that's fine, but there's no club within 100 miles of me, or 200 miles of me, and how am I supposed to have a feeling for Galway if I'm from Mayo, say, you know, and in every other part of my sporting life I despise Galway, no offence. You know what I mean? But they are your rivals, then you're meant to sort of adopt them. So I think for people in Kerry, and there is actually, for all that we associate Kerry with Gaelic football and always will, what I found from being down there and chatting to people, that there's actually a good history of football down there too, and they just needed a vehicle for it. So it's a great moment for them. It's a small step, and there'll be probably more tough days to come, but I'm delighted for them that they got it last night.
You wonder, does the county name mean anything as well, if it was Carlow as well, you know what I mean?
I know what you're saying, yeah. It's funny, I've got this wrong. At one point in the past I wondered, because there was talk of a team in Kerry, and I wondered, should you just call it like Tralee
Rovers or something?
Well, Tralee, and just get get it all built around that sort of place. But it's actually, I was completely wrong, you know, that and I'm sure there's probably they'll face difficulties in time, but there is that sense that just like the people covering the team, like, Kerry, this is our team. You know, a lot of people just feel like, okay, I'm going to get on board with this. And but obviously, you know, they're also a competitive sporting county, as everyone knows, who doesn't like losing. And they're probably still going to finish bottom of the table this year, more than likely. But there's still that sense of pride that seems to be there, like a lack of cynicism, which is great, you know, because it's a cynical world, that people are very much open-minded towards giving this team a go, and it means that, like, there's always been great talent in Kerry. I think Michael Foley might have had a piece in the paper last week about you know, in Killarney, and a lot of the great Kerry inter-county players of recent times were very talented football players, or soccer players, as they would say, and I suppose, like, it's a county that produces great sporting talent, and now they have something local that if they want to follow their dreams in that sport, they can, without having to travel a long distance. And that sort of makes sense, really. It seems so. A lot of the solutions to problems in Irish football are so blindingly obvious, but you can't it's very hard to actually get them to come to exist for many reasons. Like, there should be a team in Mayo, there should be a team in Cavan Monaghan, you know, there should be a team in Carlow Kilkenny, but there's various reasons why that isn't the case, but it should be the case going forward. And I hope that the Kerry example drives others to dip their toe in the water, although I appreciate it's not straightforward.
Ireland has obviously a very complex history, and we have different understandings of it, but like the I can't tell you anything about like counties in England or shires or whatever they are, but the county system in Ireland is basically there, and it's because it's so ingrained in our mind because of the Gaelic Athletic Association that, like, I'm from Galway, and that's always been a part of me. I'm from Galway. I know exactly that I'm not from Roscommon or Mayo. I'm from Galway, and that only ultimately matters in the prism of sort of Gaelic games, and that does translate to it being difficult for somebody from, be it a football fan from, say, like Roscommon or Mayo, to support Galway United. It's just a kind of there's a block in your head. So the Kerry thing works in that regard, and as Dan says, the quest is just to get more teams like that. Shane Hannon was talking during the week about getting a top corner goal in Gerta Keegan, and it's sad that Monaghan United isn't there anymore. I think the best pathway is to get the underage structures going and take it from there, like Kerry have. And Mert Murphy reporting on the game in the Examiner tonight. I would have known Mert going back working for in Gaelic football circles down in Kerry, and that kind of sums up that a lot of people have kind of bought into this. And as Dan says, that ability, if you're a good young footballer in Kerry, to be able to play for your local team and not have to go to Dublin and so on.
Yeah, I think it's only through cricket I'd know the English counties. Lara, would you consider yourself from Lancashire? Obviously you're Irish, but like in terms of growing up in the Lancashire area, is that a thing?
Yeah, Lancashire. I used to go and watch it. I was still am a mad cricket person anyway. I used to go and watch them in the late 60s, 70s in the Gillette Cups and all those kind of things. David Lloyd, all those kind of boys. They had a brilliant one-day winning cricket team. They were far better actually one day than they were in the 3 or 4 day normal league games. So yeah, I go all the time.
Yeah.
It's funny as well in Dublin, like Dan and I have had lads on the podcast who are technically not from Dublin, and we spoke about those lads from Meath. But when you come up through a football background, it's not really like if you're born kind of on the commuter belt, like the county kind of I guess your identity in terms of your county is different. Like if you're from sort of those commuter areas around the Kildare-Dublin border, the Meath-Dublin border, you don't necessarily, and you come through the football environment, you don't necessarily identify with like the Dubs or Meath or Kildare. It's much more complex, and that's because you're from a soccer background rather than a Gaelic football background. I've found that a lot.
Well, heading into like the amount of times Nathan Collins or Evan Ferguson are referred to as a Dubliner, and neither of them are actually. I think Nathan Collins is sort of
Kildare, isn't he?
With a Dublin family, it's sort of you have to diplomatically, you have to ride a fine line there. But it's great. It's great. Like it's great for, and I think like this is one of the things. There's a real upsurge in the league this year for crowds generally, and a lot of it comes from clubs recognising that they're part of a community rather just than being a team. With the jerseys and the players who come and go, and I think there's a transient thing in the league here where players go somewhere for a season and 2 seasons and they move on. But as Johnny says, a lot of these clubs now have these massive underage wings attached to them, and it's helped to create a much better environment around the clubs that's translating to crowds. But like the scenes I watched it. I mean, there's a bit of a controversy over the winning goal, whether it crossed the line or not. But I watched the scenes at full time, and it was good to see it. Just a heartwarming tale.
Laura, have you ever visited Kerry?
Say again?
You ever visited Kerry?
No, I've not. No.
Oh, Laura, Jesus!
You need to get it done, Laura. Great.
Fly there.
I've not seen Jesus either.
Yeah, some of the
not yet. Anyway,
some of the best.
You'll find them in Kerry, actually. To be honest, I thought I'd tell you.
You have to pay for it though.
Some of
Dan and I owned a leg of a horse together who won in Killarney. Killarney Racing returns tomorrow, and
we did. Yeah,
I
the Roses for Lee presented us with the first prize.
What was the name of the horse?
Aye, Skipper.
Yeah.
Killarney. I mean, what a cool place.
One of the best counties for hospitality in this country is Kerry. They pride themselves on that.
They certainly. The Kerry people are so good at tourism that it still feels very authentic, even though, I mean, you're utterly being fleeced now because prices are so bad. Like, it's so expensive, Kerry. And I know people from
We're trying to encourage Laura to go to Kerry.
Yeah.
You're take your wallet with a smile.
But I'll tell you what you should do, Laura. Go to the Blasket Islands for 2 nights. It's basically you're off grid. There's no electricity. You're on an island for 2 nights. No running water. And you'll never look at life the same again.
Yeah, but why would you go?
thought I explained why you should go, actually. But yeah.
Johnny goes to get away from technology in the world, you know. But he comes back with very arty photographs, which are obviously taken from, I don't know.
I've done Zoom.
I don't know how they're taken.
I've done Zoom calls on the Blasket Islands, despite the fact there's no electricity. But yeah, that'd be Kerry is just, I don't know. And the fact that it has a League of Ireland option now. Galway United fans flew to Kerry from Dublin this year because we never play in Europe, so that was our away trip was like getting a flight, which was like 20 quid or something.
Yeah, the airport is quite something, actually. I don't know if you ever passed through it.
I passed driving through it.
Yeah.
I've seen where it is, quite near Killarney. Yeah.
It's a good experience. Yeah.
I was being told to go to the Listowel races. You can fly down to Listowel. I must try and maybe make it once this year. I've never made it before. The Harvest Festival. It's Man United 1 and Wolves 0 in the Premier League. Anthony Martial with the goal. Fulham have scored away to Southampton, so they're just nailing the Southampton coffin. Carlos Vinicius having a bit of a good run recently, the former Spurs player. 1-0 away to Southampton. Palace 1, Bournemouth 0, Eze with the goal. Chelsea have equalised 1-1 against Nottingham Forest. Big game in the bottom of the table. Raheem Sterling with the goal. He's had a fall off a cliff in terms of his form. Awani getting the opener for Forest. Villa 1, Spurs 0 still. Jacob Ramsey scoring early in the game. Leeds 2, Newcastle 2 earlier on. What about Liverpool, Laro? They're getting a bit of momentum. Salah has had a great run recently and maybe a bit too late. Any hope? I suppose United are winning now that they will catch United, but I suppose for next season there's a degree of a better vibe maybe than there was 2-3 months ago.
Yeah, no, much better. And they've played better, John, without being outstanding. There's still a few flaws defensively. I think you can most definitely still get at them. So that needs to be rectified. And unfortunately, Van Dijk only looks at it like he's at 65-70%. So maybe hoping that the rest in the off season might do him some good. I think now it's just a case of obviously they're around looking for players. I think they'll sign 3 midfield players.
How many players do they need, Laura? Actually, you say 3 midfield players. Who else do they need, do you think?
I wouldn't. If you got 3 good midfield players, I think he'd be quite happy. I mean, what the interesting thing's going to be, he's now got obviously Trent Alexander-Arnold playing sort of in this little box in midfield, and he's allowed to go and get the ball off the centre backs, and he's just basically allowed to go and play. And obviously, one of the centre halves has to cover for him. I don't think he'll get. He might get 4, but he certainly needs 3 in midfield. And just basically for the fact that I think he wants to go again with the pressing. He's almost gone in the last 6 months. Is, you know what, the pressing's not going to work. We can't really do it. But I'm going to buy players in the summer who are very much into that. And it'll get the team up the pitch quicker, obviously, and cause problems for the opposition. So I think that's what he's after. If they finish 5th, what competition do they go into? One of those Mickey Mouse ones, isn't it?
Well, I think that's disrespectful towards the competition, to be fair. But like the problem, you're right though. The problem Liverpool have is they're probably better off just being in nothing or the Champions League next season to reset.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
The Europa League.
Yeah. Privately, he would tell you that he's that kind of person. But totally. But I think they'll win every game to the end of the season. What are they now? 5, 6 on the spin.
Yeah, 6 on the spin.
They've stopped conceding goals by and large as well, to be fair.
Well, last couple of games, Fulham, Brentford, they most certainly have. So that's been a bonus because that's been a real problem. But yeah, midfield players, try and let them have 6 weeks off, whatever it is, and next season back to the old pressing full time.
Any inkling what Bazunu Kelleher might do, Laurel?
No, I haven't actually. There are all sorts of rumours over here that if Brentford sell their goalkeeper, that they might come for him, but Liverpool wouldn't want to lose him. I don't know whether he's happy. Obviously, his money would be very good, etc. But I would presume he wants to play. Of course, the problem is it's very difficult to get a number 2 who's just happy to be a number 2 unless he's a bloke who's 36, 37 and been round the block.
Yeah, I think all the Irish goalkeepers, big season for them next season.
Yeah, well, Kelleher, in fairness to me, like, the tone of what he said has changed a lot over the last 12 months. In talking about wanting to go and being open to going, so I think it's all pointing towards him. He's at the stage now where he's 24 in that sort of bracket, and he hasn't even played a double figure number of league games in his career, so I think even the start of this season, I think obviously they had Alisson building up to the World Cup, and I think there was a few things going on. I kind of wonder, even at sort of whispers that maybe at a different time might something have happened last summer, but if it didn't happen last summer, obviously it didn't, you would assume something might happen this summer, and there just comes a point where and what you can do now, you can always do one of these modern deals anyway, where you can let someone go, either let them go on loan or you let them go and you sell them with the buyback option, which Man City have done with Bazunu, that if they have the option to buy him back if they ever felt they wanted to in the future. So you'd imagine Liverpool would have the power to retain some control over the asset, but I think for Kelleher's sake he has to move on now. Yeah, I think so.
Alexis McAllister, they were linking with Liverpool, that type of midfielder in the summer.
They're talking 70 million for him, aren't they?
What did Brighton pay for him? I don't know. It is the thing with Klopp.
Counting him as a young player.
The thing with Klopp, Laura, is I know you're alluding to it there, but I actually don't really know, does he know himself what Liverpool's philosophy is at the moment, in that they were and I just, some of the strikers, like, has Núñez really worked out? Has he made some kind of scattergun signings? Because their game plan when they were so successful was fairly simple: high press, extremely workman, hard working midfielders, get the ball up to the top three. Now,
but also the auxiliary fullbacks, or they were
who've had patchy seasons. To be fair,
but they were a huge part of that success. Like, they were almost.
He wants to go back. He wants to go back to that, and I think the way he views it, listening to one or two people inside the football club, is this is the season where he's accepted but not particularly happy with the fact that they just can't do it with the personnel that they've got. I think he likes all the strikers. Núñez has been. It's interesting with Núñez. Do you play him on the left and come in from there? Do you play him through the middle? But I think he's just really, really happy with what they have in terms of strikers. I mean, what they got, 4 or 5. They've got some outstanding players. I mean, that's the most difficult part of the team to get right, I think, as everybody knows. So
Thiago's been disappointing, Laura, hasn't he? I know he's had a lot of injuries, but
when he's played, he's been really, really good. But you're right, insofar as the disappointment is, he gets in the team and he looks like a world-class player still. And then he just gets injured, and it's like he just nicks his calf. It's nothing ever really serious, but it's almost he's chasing his fitness all the time, which is a pity, because when you see him play well, he sees stuff on the pitch which the players just don't see. But then if he's not playing well, he's one of 3 in there, and he's not going to press. Henderson obviously will slowly be coming to the end. Although he started quite a few games of late. Milner's going to Brighton. So who else have they got? Fabinho has actually started to look better in the last 3 or 4 games. So that's why they need the midfield players. But I think the manager's just thinking, right, get your 6 weeks off and get ready, because we're going for it again next season. In terms of the way that they play, he will insist that they press. Absolutely, totally.
2-1 to Chelsea. Big goal for Raheem Sterling, and big goal for Leeds and for Leicester down the bottom. So 2-1, and a goal for Palace. They've got a second one against Bournemouth in that game. That dead rubber down at Eze again. He's having a good season.
This John, how well has Roy done?
Brilliantly.
Unbelievable, isn't it?
Yeah.
When he went back, he went, he's 70-yard. What does he know? And all those guys.
Forrest have scored.
Wow.
We got a VAR now, because this comes up like the moment it happens. There's a little bit of an asterisk.
How does Hodgson walk away now, though? Like, do you know what I mean?
Well, he walks upstairs, doesn't he? It's always upstairs is the role, isn't it?
Yeah, but obviously you sort of.
It's great for Paddy McCarthy as well.
Yeah, it's a strange one. Like you see like Neil Warnock today walking away after saving Huddersfield. And you see these managers, there's been a couple of them this year have come back in that short term, but
That's the future, isn't it?
Just had to come back a couple of months a season, basically.
Yeah, especially in the Premier League. And under no great pressure, you come back, keep them up, get your bonus, go back to Barbados for 3 months and wait for the next phone call.
Head off. It's like a special teams player, like coming in to take in the field goal in the Super Bowl. Just come in at the end and just take your money and head off.
Probably a Henrik Larsson type who comes in and wins a trophy.
It's true. I mean, this season has been particularly volatile, but there is obviously. I mean, you can imagine, like Neil Warnock says, he's done now. But if there's a championship club struggling next season, with 9 games to go, you're going to make the call, aren't you?
Yeah, where's Mick at the moment?
Well, Mick obviously, it didn't see. The problem with Mick is
probably in Portugal.
The problem with Mick is that the last one just hasn't worked, and that's obviously the issue is that you're, if it doesn't work for Big Sam this time, say, and that means it's twice in a row it hasn't worked. Do you lose?
It's funny you
not get that call.
What was he at 4 games? So it's like
I know, but
irrelevant.
I know that's insane. But
like, who do we call? Let's
Ghostbusters.
This is it.
Hey boys, I text Big Mick when he lost his job at Blackpool. Told him he'd obviously done a brilliant job being a Preston fan. And I just said to him, why don't you just clear off to Portugal and get your feet up? And he said, I think I'll take your advice.
Then a job might come up, Laura. Yeah, I don't know. I was talking to Tim Clancy about this actually, and he was like, I haven't had a break from football since, I don't know, Dan, was it like, you're talking like...
So he's just after leaving St. Pat's, but he'd been in England and Scotland.
Yeah, like no break at all, and he kind of didn't know what to do with himself. But I think with Mick, Mick's was so long, from the start of his coaching career, he'd one sort of break, I think. I'd say if a job came up, he'd take it. So he just can't let go.
That's the addiction, isn't it? I mean, Hodgson hasn't done much of that Palace team, to be honest, in terms of new personnel. The defence is good. Maybe the midfield a bit more tighter, but...
the end justified the means there with Vieira in the sense that like they were in vague relegation trouble on the run that they were on. They couldn't score, and he has completely galvanised them. But there was logic to that because he was a fairly safe pair of hands.
Well, they knew him, didn't they?
They knew him. But Lampard, I don't know. Like Chelsea had a lot to fight for when Lampard got the job.
It's funny when managers in some way they work like it worked for him at say Switzerland or Fulham or Palace, but it didn't work at England.
John,
at Liverpool.
I think Lampard got the job because he only lives around the corner from Stamford Bridge, doesn't he?
Yeah,
handy enough.
He owns half a street in Chelsea, apparently.
All the speculation about how somebody can get a gig, we don't know. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with Mick McCarthy. Will he get back into management? Man United 1, Wolves 0, Anthony Martial, Southampton 0, Fulham 1, Carlos Vinicius, Crystal Palace 2, Bournemouth 0, Eze with both goals. That Forest goal is going to stand. Big goal in Awani again. 4 goals in 2 games.
Wow.
Aston Villa 1, Spurs 0. Nobody go and manage Spurs, would they at the moment, Laura? Would anybody go and take that job?
What, Tottenham?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course they will.
Yeah.
I don't know who, but yeah, absolutely, totally will, won't they? Because it's a really, really good job to have. But I think it's time for Kane to go.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely. Why? I don't think Daniel Levy will let him. He'll want some money for him, but I think Kane will just go in and see the manager. Just go and see Daniel Levy and say, look, I've done everything. Just I want to leave. Just let me go for how much ever money they want. Whoever wants to take him, I think Man United will take him.
Yeah,
really do.
Yeah, Ratcliffe seems to be is the front runner now to take over at Manchester United. Jim Ratcliffe and.
The thing with Kane, it's interesting with Spurs' philosophy that Kane doesn't really have much pressing kind of in him. He just wouldn't have that athleticism for all that he's an amazing player. And if you brought kind of Richarlison into the fold of being that number 9, and you've got more dynamic players, if they do lose Kane, in some respects they can change their philosophy in terms of how they play. I suppose
depends who they buy.
Yeah, but I think so. I still think, Laura, it's such an attractive club for a prospective player living in London, amazing stadium. It has a lot going for it.
Well, it does, but after a while, if you ain't winning anything, I mean, you can have all the money in the world, but surely he actually wants to win something. I think Man United will go all out to get him, and they'll sell a few players, won't they, as well? But why not go and play at Old Trafford? Go and play for Man United, because he would most certainly improve their team. Most certainly.
Yeah, I think he's hung up on this record of beating Shearer's record of 260 Premier League goals.
Yeah,
he's second now.
Imagine the chances you get at Old Trafford.
Yeah. No, I mean, as a Spurs fan, I would give an absolute blessing for him to go, to be honest, because it's not his fault the way the club has been run so badly in terms of football product the last few years. So it's been run terribly. I was like, you're talking about like trophies. It was at Real Madrid, talking about like stadium tours. At Arsenal now, they have this kind of banner around the whole of the stadium with every single trophy they've won. We tried to do that at Spurs.
Okay. Been the Jacks or something, would it?
I'll take a break here, Laro.
Oh, United look like we're finally going to win some, JD. We've got to talk about that. 10 points clear. Dan has given out that the crowds aren't great. It must be such a formality. But just
before we go to the break, Laro, have you seen Evan Ferguson on TV? Have you got an impression yet, or is it too early for you?
It's a bit early, but no, I like him. He's obviously a man, isn't he? He's still only 18, is he not?
Yeah, he's 18.
18 and a half.
And you can tell he's been really well coached. And I think he's going to be a player. But the problem is, of course, we as in Ireland are desperate to play him every time he's available. And I think Brighton at the moment are handling him really, really well. I know he's been injured. Has he come back yet?
He came back against Everton, but tomorrow will be interesting if he starts, because these are the games where a lot of eyes are on him. And Dan has spoken about the clubs that are sort of in the picture in terms of potentially signing him. I think the one thing you have to say with Evan Ferguson, if you compare what he's doing at, like even Haaland, I'm taking the PISS here a bit, but at Haaland at this age, I think he was at Molde. So Ferguson is kind of, it's a little bit like he's 18 and a half. That's really young, and how big he is. So it's like, is he going to be the 2-year-old colt who still is the Derby horse next year, or is he going to plateau? But I think Laro tomorrow, if he starts, Arsenal's still obviously in the title race. There'll be a lot of eyes on him, and it was that game, obviously the corresponding game, that he got that goal off the bench, which kick-started the whole run.
I think where he's fortunate is he plays in a team that plays football. So, he will get the ball to his feet a lot of the time in that team and be expected to hold it up, which is one of his strengths, is it not?
I was thinking
they are so well suited to him, how Brighton play.
Yeah.
Like Stephen Kenny was on about this, the 4-2-4 almost. The wingers are almost ahead of the strikers, but it means he gets a lot of the ball with players around him in support, and like that. It's a very specific system they play that it's not necessarily replicated everywhere else.
The thing that I was just thinking of this during the week, like the quality of your upbringing in terms of having a dad who was actually a professional footballer probably helps, where he's just like looking at, if you're showing any inkling or promise at 4 or 5 years of age, he's just going to manage you, and you're going to be looked after in the sense of this just might happen. And I think kids that are kind of almost like introduced to the world as like, okay, you could be a footballer here, it probably gives you a bit of a head
You're just
start.
going to have kids giving out to their parents for not being professional footballers.
Like you and me, Dan.
Yeah, exactly.
Horse owners.
I think the thing with him will be, the thing with him for me will be what he will be like next season, because he's come in and he's done extremely well. And then I think you would judge him at the end of next season, because these guys come in and they have a really, really good season. And I know they say second season syndrome and all that kind of thing, but there is a bit to that, because people work out what his strengths and what his weaknesses are. And if he still looks a player at the end of next season, then obviously Brighton and obviously ourselves in terms of the country have got a real top player.
Does De Zerbi stay on at Brighton, Laro? Is interesting.
Yeah. Well, we saw what happened to the other manager. He walked away with 13 million quid. But I think he just knows he's got a very, very good job. I still know some of the old Brighton people. I know Tony Bloom as well, extremely well.
Would you, yeah?
And what?
You know Tony Bloom extremely well?
Yeah.
Wow. How have you that relationship? He's an intriguing character.
I know Tony Bloom extremely well because his granddad was on the board when I signed for Albion, for Brighton and Hove Albion. So
what?
Yeah.
That is mad.
Yeah. So he's you won't want to bet against Tony Bloom at anything.
Absolutely not. Yeah, and he's he's a shrewd man with the horses. And
owner of Champion Chaser and Urgenman.
Penn Hill, one of my better Andy Buzz tips for
And do you know what, John? He doesn't want any publicity or anything. The couple of times I've been down to a couple of games when he's invited me, and he just sits in the corner, has a little chat, and he's done amazing for that football club. Absolutely amazing. Partly because I think he promised obviously Harry Bloom, who was his grandfather, that do everything he could for the club. They don't owe anybody a penny. And you're going to say, well, no wonder, because they keep selling the players. But that in itself is brilliant. So the recruitment side of it is right. I'm told the training ground is absolutely brilliant. We just trained on the local park when I was there, and the ground itself. I don't know if you've been, but the South Downs like are a particular shape, a rounded shape, and the council, when Brighton built the new ground, said you've got to make the ground the shape of the South Downs, and they have, and it's just a great place to go.
Tell Tony of the geezer you're on the radio with every Saturday who wants to do his autobiography, ghostwritten.
Really?
And if Dan's not available, I'll do it.
Hey. What's it worth? Listen, hold on a minute. What's it worth to me before I make the call?
Goodwill and a trip to Kerry.
All expenses paid trip. Johnny has just admitted it cost 20 quid and there's no electricity.
We got to take a break. Laro, Dan McDonnell and Johnny Ward on Football Saturday after this.
Football on Off the Ball.
With Sky, don't miss Everton versus Man City on Super Sunday. Live, only on Sky Sports.
This is News Talk.
One bee can teach another bee to play football. This is evidence that the cow jumped over the moon. But as ever, it's all about our favourite molecule, DNA.
Join Professor Luke O'Neill on the Show Me the Science podcast as he tackles a different issue each week, from the serious to the silly, all explained through science.
Hello, Luke O'Neill here, and welcome to my Show Me the Science podcast.
New episodes available every Thursday on the News Talk app, powered by Go Loud.
And I'm going to finish now with a very nice phrase.
News Talk. Conversation that counts.
The Harvey Norman 5-day furniture clearance event is now on, with incredible deals across our range of sofas and dining furniture in stock for quick delivery. But hurry, only while stocks last, with 3-seater sofas from below $599, 3-seater recliner sofas from just $799, 5-piece extending dining sets including table and 4 chairs starting from only $599, plus so much more in store and online at the Harvey Norman 5-day furniture clearance. Must end Monday. Don't miss out.
Go! Get your summer off to the best possible start with Go Breaks. Enjoy incredible value hotel deals all across Ireland. From family breaks to coastal escapes, you'll find unbeatable offers when you book with us this May. Or if Europe's more your thing, discover our amazing selection of sun, sand and city destinations across the continent. Go experience, go explore this summer with Go Breaks, as recommended by News Talk. Go Breaks. T's and C's at gobreaks.ie.
If you've been the victim of a crime, it can sometimes feel like you've been left in the dark with nowhere to turn for answers or support. But help is always available, no matter who you are or what your background. Victimscharter.ie provides information on translation services, explains your rights, and offers the support you need when you need it most. You have rights, you have support, you have a voice. Find yours in the Victims Charter, brought to you by the Government of Ireland.
Not sure where to start with your smart meter? Sign up to a Home Electric Plus smart meter price plan from Electric Ireland to see how much energy your appliances are actually using. Track your usage monthly, daily or even hourly and get tips and advice on how to use less. It's a smart start to controlling your energy usage. To sign up, search Electric Ireland Home Electric Plus. Smart meter and online account required. Features available after 4 months. T's and C's apply. See electricireland.ie.
The Tile Style Summer Sale is now on, with a guaranteed 40% off all in-stock tiles, including porcelanosa, and huge savings on bathrooms, kitchens and wood flooring. All in stock and ready for immediate dispatch. That's an incredible 40% off all in-stock tiles and guaranteed savings on bathrooms, kitchens and wood floors. Don't miss out. Shop now while stocks last and save big at the Tile Style Summer Sale. In store at Ballymount or online at tilestyle.ie.
Football on Off the Ball.
With Sky, don't miss Leicester versus Liverpool on Monday Night Football. Live only on Sky Sports.
This is News Talk.
And welcome back to Off the Ball Saturday here on News Talk. John Duggan with you 3 to 5. Congratulations to Ben Healy. Ireland's Ben Healy has won a stage on the Giro d'Italia. He's won stage 8, the 22-year-old. So fantastic day for him.
He set an extraordinary pace on the descent from one of the categorised climbs. I'd love to know what that pace was, JD, because setting an extraordinary pace on a descent is like, you're talking potentially 80-90 kilometres an hour.
Keen cyclist Johnny Ward here is
broadcaster and journalist and cyclist.
Yeah.
That's class. Like, we have some good cyclists at the moment.
Eddie Dunbar doing well as well.
Ben Healy's 22, and the Giro, the stature of that to win a stage, that's incredible. So congratulations to him. And 22 is very, very young to be making it as a cyclist.
11 points in the difference now between Connacht and the Stormers. The Stormers 31, Connacht 20 in the URC semi-final. Remember, it's Leinster and Munster kick off at 5:30. Full time in the Women's National League. Shelbourne 2, DLR Waves 0. In the League 1 playoff, Bolton 1, Barnsley 1. In the Charlton Cup, Cavan 1-9, Laois 1-7. Goals in the Premier League to tell you about. A second one for Aston Villa, 2-0 against Spurs. Douglas Luiz with the second. Fulham now 2-0 up away to Southampton. Southampton are going down, and Alexander Mitrovic, back from his break, has got the goal for the Cottagers. Man United, like the most sleepiest dull games I think we've seen here on the TV at 3 o'clock on a Saturday.
We've had a couple of chances now to kill the game. It's been sleepy enough, but they did try and sort of turn the screw and get a second goal, and Wolves are having a little bit of a late rally now, so it's sort of it's warmed up a little bit from where it was.
Man United 1, Wolves 0, 18 minutes on the watch, and Anthony Martial with the goal. Eber Jazez got 2 for Palace against Bournemouth. They're 2-0 up. Chelsea 2, Forest 2. This is a huge game because Chelsea were a goal down at Awani, and then Sterling scored twice, and then Awani has equalised after Leeds drew 2-0 with Newcastle earlier on. Just go through what happened last night in the League of Ireland before we could bring Laro back into the conversation, Dan. So we have Rovers going top, Bohemians losing.
Yeah, and I suppose another story last night was Dundalk, 2 injury time goals against Cork
94 and 97.
But Cork had the last 50 minutes of that game, Cork had 2 players sent off and then conceded twice in injury time. It's crazy stuff. Absolutely crazy game, and I think they felt pretty hard done by. But yeah, I suppose the big story is it's a combination of Rovers going top and Derry winning. I mean, to be fair to Derry, it's a big win away to Bows. And it gets lost in maybe a little bit of the discussion around, well, is this it now? Like, have Rovers from the position of being in a bad place at the start of the season, couldn't win a game, to now they're top by the middle of May, which didn't seem to tally with their crisis vibe that was there. They play Pats on Monday in Tala. And yeah, they've got a chance to drive on. But I think Derry, from their perspective, some of their injured players are coming back. And I suppose if you want to take an optimistic slant on the possibility of there being a proper title race, Derry have been playing without some big names. Some of them are coming back, and they might get some momentum going. But it is looking pretty good for Rovers, I would think.
Virgin committing to showing 5 games between 5 games into the future anyway this season, JD.
Starting with Shells and Pats next week.
Yeah, that's good, and it's encouraging for the League of Ireland because RTE, shows games, but Virgin is utterly commercial in its mindset, and obviously it has to make money on anything it does, and because it doesn't get the licence fee, and its broadcast of Bohemians Shamrock Rovers was done, and I've done bits of work for Virgin. I don't think they'll mind me saying this. They did it in a cost efficient way. They used I think they used the broadcast that would have been provided on LOI TV, I think, but it didn't really dent the product that much, and it was encouraging that their figures were good enough. I think peak figures then might have been 70,000.
I'm not sure. Like I'm not sure. I
mentioned the peak figures were good anyway, and that's really encouraging.
Better than a GA match behind a paywall, put it that way.
Yeah, I mean that's that issue. We've spoken a bit about it, but like you do,
we can escape that debate, Charlie. Here,
when you're in the League of Ireland, you are like I think we're in the League of Ireland. Everyone is blessed to have LOI TV, where you can effectively watch any game for 120 quid a year. But to have Virgin getting involved, we see in the in the horse racing media at the moment, where there looks like there's going to be a split between
some of the courses,
racing TV potentially and Sky Sports Racing. But if a bit of competition for in terms of the League of Ireland landscape is certainly a good thing, because there's very little money in it.
Streaming, paywall, I mean, all that stuff. I mean, I thought Leo had the best contribution during the week. The TV stations should show the most popular games. It's like, there you go. It's that easy, isn't it? You know. I love when politicians get involved in sporting.
This is an open goal for them though as well.
Well, it's a great one. It's a great one to get into. But like,
I
try and talk about other things like, say, the debate and tax and all of this, and it'd be shut down. But it's like, oh, hang on, there's an issue with this GAA, this elderly GAA fan who can't see a game that is portrayed in a particular light, and it's like, it's almost like there's a fire alarm going off. Politicians slide down the pole. No, I know you have strong views in this as well.
Nice analogy,
but it is true though. It's like, this is nothing that stirs the political classes to life than the idea of the
Munster Hurling Championship.
Yeah, exactly. These are the parish we need to satisfy. But any other questions about funding and sport and why it's one of the lowest in Europe, it's not really as
my earliest.
Not really a debate to commit to.
I think the banging of the drum of the betting tax should continue.
Absolutely.
I think it will.
If it's not my earliest memories, one of my earliest memories was in 1987. My father and my brother going down into the car to drive to Dublin to watch Galway and Cork in the replay in 87, and they wouldn't bring me because they felt I was too young, or probably too annoying actually. But that was 1987. All Ireland semi-final replay. So you were well annoying as a kid as well, because look at you now. Do you know the reason they went to the game? Because it wasn't on TV, and that was an All Ireland semi-final replay because it wasn't on TV. And now, like, what is anyone's entitlement, whether he's 3 years of age or 93 years of age, to be able to watch every game, like, effectively in the championship? He doesn't have that right, and I would defend the GA as long as the money's going back to good causes.
There's a paywall into every game you go to.
Yeah. Laura, I'm sure, Laura, before you played football for Ireland and for Liverpool, you probably didn't see any games on TV.
I was allowed to watch Match of the Day on a Saturday night.
That must have been some highlight, Laura.
Yeah, highlight of the week. And I always remember, because obviously my dad was an ex-player as well, so we had a bowl of sweets as well as when the game was on. It was a highlight of my year, never mind my week.
How was your dad as a player?
My dad was a left winger, stroke right winger. All he ever wanted to do when he signed for Preston was get enough money or make enough money to open a shop, which he did.
What a romantic.
Sorry?
That's proper romantic. I'm signing for this club, so I want to open a shop. Give me the money. Yeah.
Well, in fairness to him, he had a fella called Tom Finney in front of him in terms of like trying to get in the team. And that's not my dad telling me that. In fact, I met a guy yesterday. My dad ended up playing for Southport in Division 3 North, obviously just for some money when he got his shop. And I met this fella yesterday. But I have at home, when my dad made his debut, I may have told you this before. Apologise if I do. On this picture, it was a debut at White Hart Lane, obviously against Tottenham, and my dad's in the middle of the picture. There are three people in the picture. So my dad, Sir Tom Finney, and Sir Alf Ramsey.
Oh, wow. Yet another son of a professional footballer. It's just, where did we all go wrong?
So would he have played with Alan Kelly Senior? Would they have overlapped?
No. My dad played in the 50s.
Oh, okay.
Different landscape.
Yeah.
Alf Ramsey, Tom Finney.
Because Alan Kelly has the road named after him around by the Preston ground, so that's always something.
Yeah. Well, he's still. I mean, he's got Stan named after him.
Stan, is it? Yeah. Yeah. It's a great footprint to have there. Yeah.
Well, and his two sons played, didn't he? As we know.
Yeah.
In fact, he's still one's still coach at Everton, isn't he?
That's right. Yeah.
He is. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I was looking at the AC Inter game during the week, and I was just admiring the atmosphere, Laro, just the incredible. I'd love to go to San Siro, and must go before it's rebuilt and redeveloped into something that's sterile, like most stadiums these days. Do you remember?
Not the Spurs one.
Yeah, the Spurs stadium has been well designed.
You can make a modern stadium that's really good.
Pity the product is disastrous. Can you remember, Laro, playing in like an atmosphere that was just that made you remember it more than other games, or was it more at Anfield every week that you preferred?
Wembley.
Wembley, right?
Yeah, I think I played about 10 times with different finals and twice with Ireland. And that the old when you came out the bottom end of the pitch, you came out and you just heard this roar that you'd never ever heard before.
Wow.
And there'd be 100,000 people in there, so that was a big one. And people forget, at Liverpool in the 80s, we'd only get like 38,000 people at the game because obviously it was a real tough time with Toxteth riots and all those kind of things. So. Yeah, but Wembley, most definitely. Wembley was like, wow, you realise you were still living when you went out there.
And away games like the Olympic Stadium in Rome, could you feel it in that European Cup final?
Yeah, that obviously because Rome were at home as well. But the thing about it, John, is it's a massive, or it was a massive stadium. I know it's still there, and a lot of the noise kind of drifted just into the night sky, as it were. So it wasn't Everton away, and Man United were the biggest ones in terms of the league. Everton was always, it was just, they were absolutely horrible games to play in. And Man United, obviously, because basically the hatred of the two teams was still there.
You can still hear that at Goodison as well, like even on the box, you can hear it's a real. But I think we're a little lucky in Dublin, in the sense of Lansdowne Road and Croke Park still have really, really good atmospheres. When
took a long time for Lansdowne Road to get it.
Like I've thought in recent games, certainly the France game, the football, I thought there was unbelievable noise that night for a game that we lost. And Croke Park All Ireland final hurling days. I mean, I've been at games in like Turkey, France, Italy, Spain, like have been an amazing atmosphere. The Croke Park on All Ireland final day is right up there.
You think?
I'll tell you what, I have a theory about all this, which is that any ground that has chimney pots round them is still the best grounds.
You like Kenilworth Road then?
Well, yeah. But honestly, seriously, I just think that when they move all these grounds to different places,
totally,
Laura,
yeah. That was the thing about Coventry, actually, just to mention, like, because I had relations in Coventry, and remember Highfield Road, and they went out that place, the Ricoh Arena with Wasps, who are now, I think Wasps have gone belly up, I think, and it's just like, I'd never been to Highfield Road, Laura, but it was just exactly what you're saying. You're going to this, it looks lovely, but it's in the middle of nowhere. You can't really walk to it, and that was the thing, like, but for the grace of whatever you believe in, Dalymount Park was going to be gone, and I think we're so blessed that the likes of Dalymount is still there, because as you say, Laura, it's essentially among the houses and the red brick and the terraces and all that.
Well, Lansdowne was really good. Really, really good.
Yeah. Now, the old stadiums, like I think of like Pauk, and the Toomba Stadium when Shamrock Rovers played there, incredible atmosphere. And Partizan Belgrade as well. Rovers played there again in 2011. They're sort of two that would sort of spring to mind very easily. Now they're old stadiums, like they wouldn't exactly meet the sort of all the health and safety criteria everyone would like, but it's the old sort of the old bowl shaped arena, very sort of Eastern European style, but incredible amphitheatres, and like the noise is just off the charts.
When we played at Lansdowne, we used to have to bribe the groundsman to cut the grass. Honestly, seriously, Jack would take him a bottle of whiskey just to cut the grass because it used to be so long.
I would have thought Jack wouldn't have wanted it cut, actually. There you go.
Well, he didn't want it 10 inches tall, though, did he?
Yeah. Like, it's funny, like my father would say when they were in Croke Park, and they'd literally be sitting on the high wall at the back of the hill, like this is like Dan's on about safety. This is absolutely basket case, so if you fall backwards you're dead, like. And you see the old videos you see the old videos in Dalymount where they're up on top of the roof and all that, like they were the days.
26 goals now for Harry Kane in the Premier League this season, a penalty spot, but too late it seems to save Spurs. 2-1 down to Aston Villa. Chelsea 2, Forest 2 in injury time. Palace 2, Bournemouth 0. We're watching Man United against Wolves. 6 minutes of injury time, 92 minutes in the watch. Anthony Martial's goal giving United a 1-0 lead over Wolves. Southampton 0, Fulham 2. We've got Sunderland and Luton kicking off at 5:30. That is also the time of the Leinster-Munster URC semi-final, and the winners will play the Stormers in the decider because Connacht have fallen short. 43 for the Stormers, 25 for Connacht in South Africa. That's what's gone on there. And we have Shelbourne beating DLR Waves by 2-0 in the Women's National League. Premier Division, Kildare earlier on won in the under-20 football final. They beat Sligo. That was by, was it 117 to 12? 117 to 12. That was what happened there.
If you're at nothing as well tonight, JD, these playoffs in the Championship, League 1, and Salford trying to get out of League 2 as well, keep us entertained.
You won't be watching the Eurovision, no?
No, you talk. You're probably a Eurovision fan, Laura.
It's in Liverpool. Laro's former alma mater.
I'm not watching that. You couldn't pay me to watch that lot of
I'd be
rubbish.
the same. It was good back in the Johnny Logan days, and but it's
What's
not
another year.
What's another year?
Yeah, Laro.
Yeah.
Hasn't been to Kerry, but he knows who Johnny Logan is.
Reminds me of that Tom Jones anecdote he told a few weeks ago.
Well, it's not unusual. Cavan won 10, Laois won 8 in the Charlton Cup. Bolton won, Barnsley won. I used to love the voting in the Eurovision, but then the too many countries, now the voting's kind of diluted.
Too many countries,
You prefer the USSR and Yugoslavia. That's basically what you're suggesting.
It's the Greece and Cyprus thing that they always.
They weren't thinking of the Eurovision when they broke up.
Remember Jack Charlton was like CIS or whatever, and he goes, I just call them the Russians, Early 90s, simpler times.
2-0 to United. Garnacho off the bench in injury time, and that wraps it up. So they've enhanced their lead over Liverpool in the race for fourth. So a huge goal for them. I mean, they were not going to lose it, were they? But you never know. 1-0 is always a chance. But yeah, Manchester United 2, and arresting the slide that's been happening recently. So yeah, they're going to go to 66 points, the same mark as Newcastle. Newcastle got a better goal difference. Liverpool on 62. And then you're looking at the rest. Really, Brighton are the only team that are kind of in the mix because they've got so many games to play. They're on 55 points. But I think it's going to be Newcastle and Man United that are going to be there in the Champions League spots by the end of the season. It's a bit too much, a bit too late for Liverpool, and United got an easy run in as well in terms of the games they have. And the ball played through. It looks onside, onside. Garnacho, who came off the bench today, coolly finished it into the corner of the net off the post.
Lovely finish.
He's a good player. I mean, it's funny. I feel like Johnny making an Evan Ferguson point, but like, think about Evan Ferguson. You think, are we downplaying it or overplaying it? But like, you look at the list of Premier League teenagers this year, and he's as good as any of them. Like Garnacho would be one. You've got Lewis and Bacetic, you've like some youngsters on the fringes, the top clubs, but there's no one like Evan Ferguson who's as important to his team. If you know what I mean, like as in Brighton. Is
there a young player of the year? What's the age? Is there age?
It's be older than that. I'm not sure. Is it 23 or something like that? Yeah, no. But in terms of teenagers, you look at the list of teenagers and you see him and you go, wow, he's could be the most influential of them. And that is exciting, definitely. Yeah. It's not hype when you look at it in that context.
Yeah. And when you look at him, you see, because he looks so much older.
Yeah, it's just if he can physically grow as well, like because 18.5 is you're really not anywhere near at your potential peak. And as I said, like generally you're not expected to be playing Premier League at that level, maybe or at that age. So tomorrow's going to be good fun if he starts. I think.
Yeah, I think injuries are crucial. For
and he's been good in that regard. In
Michael Owen, obviously,
he's had 2 of them this year. That's the only step, but he's come back from them.
Such incredible talent Michael Owen was when he was young.
Yeah,
and, injuries did him.
Really. The thing with Ferguson is Ferguson isn't reliant on being blisteringly fast like Owen was. Ferguson is he's not amazingly quick.
Good point. Laura, thanks so much for your time today.
Pleasure, boys.
Mind yourself.
See you soon. Thank you.
Mark Lawrenson there. Villa 2, Spurs 1, Chelsea 2, Forest 2, Palace 2, Bournemouth 0, Man United 2, Wolves 0, all approaching half time. The Chelsea game has gone full time rather, and has also finished Southampton 0, Fulham 2.
We might have a goal for Spurs.
We do, according to my screen here. And we don't know who it is, but you might be able to tell us, Dan, before we need to go.
No, we don't have it.
But
a Son. They're suggesting Son.
Well, there you go.
Subject to VAR, as you would say, John.
And a draw for the day. Dan and Johnny,
thanks, JD.
Enjoy the green shirts. We got to leave it there. Don't forget Off the Ball back tomorrow. Joe Malloy in the chair as always on Sunday 1 to 7 here on News Talk. I'm going to showcase 2 live and exclusive commentaries in the Premier League. The title race still alive. Can't wait for this. Stephen Dahl and Brian Kerr providing the call in the game between Everton and Man City as the full-time whistle goes at Old Trafford. Man United 2, Wolves 0. Then Nathan Murphy and Kenny Cunningham describing the game involving Arsenal and Brighton. We'll also reports and reaction from the GA Football Provincial Finals involving Dublin and Louth and Derry and Armagh, Ross Munley and Conleth Gilligan on hand to provide expert analysis from the venues. We're also going to bring you the best of the Sunday pay-per-view. Be sure to tune in to Joe tomorrow at 1. If you missed any of OTB Football Saturday with Dan, Johnny and Mark Lawrenson, or our Gaelic Football Chat with Eamon McGee, Paddy Keenan and Peter Caffrey, you can find a podcast on the Off the Ball section of the Go Loud Network, or be sure to listen back wherever you get your pods. Thank you so much for listening to us on your radio across the country here on News Talk today. Have a great evening folks, and we'll speak tomorrow at 1. Bye-bye.
the ball and he out of grass. He'll give you a move for the perfect pass.